Please give aloud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa bihi nasta'een. Wa salatu wa salamu ala al-ashraf al-anbiya'i wal-mursaleen. Abil Qasim Muhammad wa ali baytihi al-tayyibin al-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Wa salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أجعلتم سقاية الحاج وإمارة المسجد الحرام كمن آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وجاهد في سبيل الله لا يستوون عند الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم أعظم درجة عند الله أولئك هم الفائزون. This is the verse from Surah Tawbah. First of all, we would like to congratulate the believers and also send our condolences on all of them for the occasion of the wafat of Syeda Zainab A.S. And of course, we would be in particular about this for condolences for the Imam of our times, Imam al-Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Last time in our speech, we were talking about the importance of knowledge and the importance of going through the gate of knowledge, which is Ali ibn Abi Talib, to reach the knowledge of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so now we're going to go to the next step, which is action. That they say that knowledge is calling for action. That if you have knowledge, then that calls for you to act on that knowledge. That knowledge which is just sitting in your heart it's nice, but it's not the same as something which is acted upon. And we always use describing the knowledge and the understanding first, and then the second part being the action. Not being like certain people who they want to run out and do actions without understanding what it is that they're doing, what effects will it have, what is their place in the world, what should be done first and what should be done second. That's knowledge, that's action, but without knowledge, and it's useless. That is now the time for jihad, or is now the time for prayer? Is now the time for akhlaq, or is now the time for salat? Just running out and doing the actions without knowing the time is useless. But now once you have the knowledge and you are aware of your duty, then what are you supposed to do? The verse which I was reading was from Surah Tawbah. It was Allah's, I'll give you a rough translation, which is that, and the sababul nuzul, from what I understand, is that this is after the conquest of Mecca. Some of the relatives of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, please give a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We're trying to say that what they had done, staying in Mecca and feeding and taking care of the Hajis and building and keeping up the house, was more important than what Amir al-Mu'mineen had done in making hijrat and the efforts that he had done. We can take two things from this thing. That we'll just read the translation of the ayat. Let me do that. That have you made the giving water to the Hajis and building the Masjid al-Haram similar to the one who believes in Allah in the last day and makes effort in his way? These two are not comparable with Allah. And Allah does not guide those who are lost or those who are oppressors. Qawm al-Zalimun. Surely those who believe and made hijrah and did jihad in the way of Allah with their wealth and themselves are of a higher rank with Allah, and these ones shall be successful. So when we have the exact case which that this came down for Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Sayyid al-Muttaqeen, that he's the misdaq, he's the example for all of these things. That when he went out and he did jihad, the Prophet said what? This is all of faith going out against all of kufr, because it was done in the perfect way, the exact way, with full iman, without taraddud and doubt and shakiness in their action. Not that I'm going out to fight because I'm afraid he's going to come and kill me anyway. Not that I'm going out to fight because I want to say everyone to say, look at me, how brave I am. Going out purely because this is an action that Allah desires in defense of the faith. So when you go and you do the action with this pure niyat, then that's when it has that. It's not that because Amr bin Ma'ruf was a really big, strong guy. If you want to take that as your example, then when Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he gave an iron ring in his salat, and they get a verse of the Quran about this. And he's the perfect example. They said there's no one more generous than Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is because of the understanding and the ma'rifah and the niyyah, that the amal is with the niyyah, not in the greatness of it. That some of the people, they would go and they would give half of their wealth in the way of Allah. They would be big businessmen and they would do this and that. And then they said that the iron ring of Amir al-Mu'mineen is better than all of what they gave. So it's not that because the person that he went and he fought was, well, he was 7 feet tall, but if he had been 6 feet tall, it wouldn't have been. No, it was the khalis niyat that he went out and he did these actions with. So this is what is making these actions pure, that the understanding that he's, and not just, I go to this thing, some people think that it's just that you act with a khalis niyyah, with the pure intention, without ma'rifah. Don't the people who they come into our masajid and they blow themselves up to stop us from being Shia and because we love the Ahlul Bayt, don't they have khalis niyyah? I mean, the person killed himself in this. So his niyat is khalis. We don't have a problem with his niyat. His ma'rifah is not there. Really? Is that the action that Allah wants from you now? There's no other action. There's not a salat that needs to get made. There's not a poor person out there in the street. There's nothing else to do. There's not some other adu of Allah. There's just the Shia. In any case, we say, okay, well, we're lost. We're misguided. We're munharib. But we had, in the end, we worship Allah. They have nobody else to kill except us. And it's so important that they make sure that they die in it, because their niyat is so khalis. Just ma'rifah, ya akhi. Have some awareness of the world. In worst case scenario, maybe we're Ahlul Kitab, if your understanding is sahih, So it's that when he's doing these actions with the understanding and the proper way, then Allah is accepting these pure actions. I remember I had a friend, he's Shia, but he was a person, he converted himself. So mashallah, a very good brother. But still his understanding is coming along a bit at a time. But he asked a question, which is a question that is repeated sometimes by the brothers of Ahlul Sunnah. They say, why do you make such a big deal out of Imam Hussein? He's not the only person in the world who died. And it's true. Sometimes there's people, they did jihad and they died, and sometimes their families were also killed and maybe captured, or similar things have happened in history, not just with Imam Hussein. They say, well, why do you make such a big deal out of this? That was 200 years ago. Forget about it. It's history. No, it's that the action was with khalis niyyah. The action was with ma'rifah. The action was pure and for Allah. Not that it was, if it had been, well, because it was 72 against 10,000, then that was what made it. No, even if it was 1 against 1, even if it was an iron ring of Imam Hussein, any one of these actions, even this, the surah which the brother just read, what's the Sababul Nuzul? It was that the family of Imam Ali gave away their bread. A small piece of wheat bread. They're saying Allah gave this long surah for 3 pieces of bread. They say they came one time, He gave him 1 piece of bread. Another person came the next time, He gave him another piece of bread. Another person came another time, He gave him another piece of bread. All of this for 3 pieces of bread. And Allah's guaranteeing them paradise. He's putting them, silken robes. All of this because they gave away 3 pieces of bread. People say, I gave away more than that. I've given away more pieces of bread. I've given away, sometimes I go at my old clothes. I don't want them anymore. I put it in the little bag and I take it down to Goodwill. That's worth more than a piece of bread, even now. I gave away what? Clothes that I had worn and worn and worn. I didn't want them anymore. I couldn't sell them, couldn't do anything with it. I put it in the Goodwill. MashaAllah, I did a great action, fi sabilillah, with khalis niyyah and ma'rifah. This was that he gave it when he wanted it. They say that Imam Zainab A.S said that ala hubbihi in this verse, meaning when they were wanting the food, when they were loving the food, because they had been fasting all day, so meaning they had to give in the state of suffering, that when somebody rang the door of the house of the Ahlul Bayt, the Ahlul Bayt can't say, no, sorry, there's nothing here for you. Maybe go down to the neighbors, there's a guy, Abu Bakr, just down the street, he has more bread than us. I said, astaghfirullah. This is what we have. I'm sorry I can't give you more. I don't want any jazaan wala shakur. Not that I'm doing this, but I want you to just, give me a handshake and say thank you. Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're a very generous guy. Just gave it to him with nothing expectation in return. And then Allah rewards this. So this is the type of action that Allah is loving. And that Allah is, these are the fa'izun. And just to go with that Imam Zain al-Abidin has a hadith from Tawus al-Yamani. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That he says the alamat al-mu'min khamsa, that the signs of the believer are 5. You have different hadiths. Sometimes they say they're 3, sometimes they say 5. But in this example, he's using 5. He says, al-wara'u fil khalwa, that he is pious when he's alone. Because all of us are pious in front of the other people. Everybody's there, mashallah, we're very pious people. But when you're alone, it's you and Allah. How is your piety? How is your strength? When it's not any pressure from the outside. The mu'min does not get himself into situations where it's just between him and Allah. The mu'min tries to keep himself around other mu'mineen. He tries to keep himself in a pure environment. One of the reasons we have the emphasis on marriage is because it puts you with one other person. Sometimes we just have khajal that one person saw me do this. So Allah emphasizes marriage because the one way that people get munharif is being by yourself. You're alone with your thoughts. You can think any crazy thing that comes to your mind. But you have to justify it at least to one person. It makes you better. If you get a mu'min person, it makes you better. Why is the emphasis on marrying mu'minat and muslimat instead of just any person? Because it makes us, and then also marrying people from good families. These people won't accept us to do terrible things. It makes us be better. So, but if in those occasions where we are alone, that we struggle and make sure that our pious covers even those times. Please give us salawat. وَالصَّدَقَةِ فِي الْقِلَّةِ, that you give when you have little. I saw one time a person came to me and he told me, you know what, mashallah, he wouldn't say mashallah, he was Christian, but anyway, he expressed the meaning of Bill Gates is giving out of the goodness of his own heart. So he has so much money that he can't spend it in 1,000 lifetimes, and half of it he gave away. That's like me giving away my old clothes that I can't sell. I mean, it's better than not doing it and just burning it, I suppose. But You have so much money that you can't spend. It's more than like the gross national product of like half of the countries on earth, and you gave half of it away. So everybody in the island country of Liberia or something, their whole entire profits is less than what you made. Probably their whole entire, I grew up in St. Croix, the whole entire GDP probably from the last 100 years of St. Croix is not what his wealth is. And then he gave away half. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing in and of itself. But to say that this is a great action, he didn't feel any pain. If, yes, I could eat this food and I gave away half, yeah, that's a great action. So we shouldn't, sometimes we yastakhif on our own actions. Somebody asks us for help and we don't give anything. They say giving little is better than giving nothing. Even a smile is charity. Please give us a lot. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Was-sabr indal musiba. That patience at a time of grief. And this is the perfect example for Lady Zainab alayha salam. That who was more patient and who had a worse time of grief? Who was more patient and who had a worse time of grief? Who suffered like this and was able to bear it? It's not that they aren't sad, it's that it doesn't affect your faith. You realize that Allah's plan is continuing. Sometimes we don't understand the meaning of patience. No, you do the right thing, and you know that Allah will give you the result, and you don't get shaken in that. So yes, she's grieved at the loss of her brother Hussein, but she didn't change her faith. You see these people, my cat died, now I'm an atheist. Please give us a lot. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Wal-hilm indal ghadab. This is another example when we use the example of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that when he struck Amr ibn Abdul Wud and the man fell, he spit in his face. He said, I can't beat you, but I can insult you. And then Imam Ali was about to kill him and he stopped his sword. He held back and he calmed down and he killed him. Fi sabilillah. What's interesting about this is you say, well, he killed him. No, but hilm indal ghadab, one is, we have other examples that we can use, but I've used that one because it's on my mind. But that you're able to be in control of your emotions, because every person wants to just, that because I was angry, I did this, that, and the other. Because I was angry, I did, I could do whatever I wanted. People with their enemies, they cut them into pieces and burn them on trees. No, that you do something, you do an action, it's for Allah. Just the same as giving the ring, just the same as going in jihad, just the same as giving the food, just the same as making your prayer. All of these actions for Allah. You see, he didn't even take his armor because he said, this is my relative and I don't want him to be exposed. This is hilm in al-ghadab. He came all the way there to fight him. He insulted him. He did this and he did that. And he said, no, my anger doesn't make me exceed the bounds that Allah has put. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then again we have the example of Zainab alayhi salam. She said, they say, وَالصِّدْقِ indal khawf, that telling the truth at the time of fear. Now we have the example of Zainab alayhi salam, that when was there more a time of fear when she was standing in front of Yazid, the tyrant of the time. That this is the hardest action for people to do. That I'm going to stand up and speak the truth in front of the oppressor. Most of us, we back down. We back down from our own rights. They come, like I've heard of different cases of them grabbing Muslims and throwing them off planes and things like that. You have the right as a citizen, as a human being, to say no, but the Muslims go along with it. You can't put me on the back of a bus. You can't throw me out because of because of racism and bigotry and religious hatred. That's not something that people are allowed to do. Speaking up at this time is the best action. This is truth in the face of at a time of fear, in the face of an oppressor. And this is a lesson that we really need to take to heart. Our religion didn't come to us easily. Sometimes we forget that. We're so used to being born in a Muslim family. I was born in a Muslim family. My father, mashallah, alhamdulillah, he was rich. We're going through ease and everything. Some of us are from Muslim countries. Everybody's a Muslim. We think that this is the case. Oh, yeah, I can be Muslim, but in the time when everybody is a Muslim, I can be Muslim when everyone's going to the masjid. I can be Muslim when only at a time of ease. What about all of the people who were Muslim in the time of hardship? Besides what happened to the Shias, the oppression that they used to feel, walls being crushed on them, being driven from their homes, banished from their homes, all of these types of, this is how the religion came to us, not through ease, through difficulty, through fear, through oppression. The religion came to us. So we have to be willing to bear some of it. With the brother had the T-shirt right there. He has with this the "We are Nimr and Free" Sheikh Zaki. This is the exact case of that. Speaking out in the face of oppression, and then being willing to suffer the consequences of it. And we, as the Muslims, having a duty to protect our ulama when they speak out. This isn't something that, it's one of the things that's wajib kifai, that it's the duty on all of the people, all of the mu'mineen. If they allow this to happen, then that means they failed in their duty. You can't say, oh, well, you know what, he spoke out. That's a darn shame he got killed. It's our duty. We can't abandon our imams. Because we say, well, what does this have to do with the imam? These are ulama, are the representative of the imams, especially our knowledgeable ulama, our aware ulama, our ulama who are organizing, our ulama who are supporting, our ulama who are getting us together. We don't have a right to abandon them. That's not one of the rights that we have. If we couldn't get to them in time, that's one thing. But not that we're there and in their presence we let them go and we prefer our family to their family. We have to look at the example of Imam Hussein again, alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. How did we get this tragedy? How did we get to this point? How did we get to the point of the Ahlul Bayt being walked in chains through the desert? How did we get to the point of the baby girl that was raised in the Prophet's lap being walked through the desert? We have to be aware of ourselves, that we can never let this happen. We can never sit and think, oh, well, my family needs to be safe. I can't put my neck out there and then allow the Prophet's family to be in danger. We can never have a situation where Sakina is running around in the desert screaming, where is my father? Where is my father? We can never have a situation where the daughters of the Prophet, their tents are being burned. We can never have that again. They're being walked through the streets of Sham while people are cursing at them and yelling at them and throwing things at them. And this is something that falls on the blame of the people of that time, but then still, somehow this lives with us, that we have to make sure, for men and for women. This is something that we need to remember, that yes, the men abandoned the Ahlul Bayt at that time, but the women were pulling them off the street. Meaning like that, this spirit of jihad, this knowledge of what to do, the right thing to do and when to do it, it was lost on all of them. The people had lost their balance. And so we just want to end there. Inshallah, Allah will grant us that we live our lives with like the lives of Prophet Muhammad and the Ali Muhammad, and I die like the deaths of the Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and that give us the ziyarat of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad in the dunya, wa shafaat of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad in the akhirah. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.